GM. It is time for propaganda. Here's the most bet on props according to BetMGM for tonight in Major League Baseball. George Springer over a home run. George Springer over a half a single. Cal Raleigh to hit a homer. Vladdy to hit a homer. And Bieber over his outs. Oh, boy. So I feel like there is a way to play George Springer that is not any of these. And we'll talk about that in a second. Cal, you guys know I hate home run props. I understand that everyone loves Cal Raleigh and he's at home. I just have no interest in home run props. And Vladdy, you guys are just banking on him to finally break the curse of the ALCS. Shane Bieber, that makes me, like, I'm not surprised at all that they think Bieber's going over his outs. People probably think the Blue Jays are going to win because no way they go down 3-0. And Shane Bieber has to come through for that to happen. It also, yesterday I said the same thing of going over on outs for Peralta because at that point you kind of had to leave your starter in when their bullpen was depleted. So I don't hate the over outs for Bieber, but I don't like that the public's on it. You like in Santander. Is he playing officially, Joseph Rodriguez? That's the question. Is Santander actually playing tonight? Because remember, he didn't come back from the game. He had back spasms. So just want to confirm he's in the lineup before we have any bets on him. So yes, so that's where I'm going with George Springer tonight. So looking at the Springer prop, I think that's the best way to play him. So George Springer over half a run, at least you're getting this at plus 122. He scored at least one run in 4 of his last 6 games in Seattle, dating back to last year. That also includes 3 games scoring 2 runs. 2, not just 1, 2. Through Springer's last 20 road games at night against a righty, he's driven in at least a run in 70% of those last 20 games. He's hitting .375 against Kirby through 8 at-bats with a double. George Springer should get on base tonight and should score a run. So I'm going to say over a half a run scored for George Springer. And, okay, we are confirmed that Santander is batting cleanup tonight. So I agree with Santander. I agree that he should be one of your over props. So we could take a look before I get to Kirby. We could take a look over at props.cash and see what props.cash thinks. Oh, I'm not even logged in. That's not good. Props.cash. So let's log in for props.cash and see. And remember, too, you guys can subscribe to props.cash, get 50% off on your first month if you use promo code PropQueen. So definitely go and sign up using promo code PropQueen to props.cash, and you could get all this information. So let's take a look at Santander. On props.cash, it says, according to their algorithm, because obviously hits is going to, it's only minus 120, actually. It's not a bet. So according to the props.cash algorithm, hits, runs, and RBI is the most likely to cash for Anthony Santander, which is minus 150. Great. So that sucks. Next one would be hits. That's a little weird. Let me see on Pickett what's going on with the best numbers. My group chat's blowing up right now. Apparently, my friend who rents out one of his places to somebody, his tenant died in the condo. So now my group chat's going crazy. That's what I have to deal with during this show. And apologies. I don't mean it's like not funny, but just like, why does that now that happened during my show and now my group chat's blowing up about it. Oh, okay. Craziness. Looking at the best lines right now for Santander, over half a hit run RBI is minus 150. Santander over a half a hit, minus 120 to get over a half a hit for Anthony Santander. So looking at props.cash again, his hits in his last 10 games, nonetheless against, let's say, on the road against a righty at night. In 2025, I don't like what this is doing right now. Hold on 1 second. We're being slow. 2025, away. At night, against a righty. 50% of games. Why is it? I don't like what this is doing right now. Okay, the algorithm's being weird. And then we're going to go, let's just see away in the last 20 games. Okay, he hasn't been great on the road. I think, let's see, at home. Yeah, his numbers are better at home, which stinks. But if you guys like him, go for it. And then I've got the Kirby under, which I mentioned on the PropQueen.com newsletter yesterday. I got this at minus 102. We've been betting unders on Toronto all year. Anyone that faces Toronto, we go under. It's been profitable. I've hit in like 80% of the bets that I've had against Toronto this year when I've taken the unders. This postseason, no right-hander has gone over their strikeout prop. In fact, no right-hander has hit 4 strikeouts against Toronto yet this playoff. Against other low K rate teams, you look at Kirby, St. Louis, he had 2 strikeouts, 3 against Milwaukee, 4 against Washington. Najee strike out less than all those teams. So I would take the under here. 4.5 Ks for George Kirby tonight. Doesn't matter wins or losses. It's just a matter of contact. So as long as the Blue Jays, maybe their Rats get going tonight. But I'm going with the under on Kirby. Early Thursday night football looks for tomorrow. And everyone in the chat's writing about, let's see, Shane Bieber owns the Mariners. Uncle Ted said Shane Bieber is a 2-2 record with an ERA of a 2.30, 49 strikeouts, 7 appearances against the Mariners this season. The more you know. Early Thursday night football props. So Aaron Rodgers. Tom doesn't agree with me, and I don't love this. I didn't bet this one. I'll tell you what I did bet. But I'm just giving you the info. Aaron Rodgers over 215.5 passing yards. Rodgers has averaged the second quickest time to throw in the NFL and the quickest in his career since 2016. On passes under 2.5 seconds, Rodgers has completed 81% of his pass attempts. That's the 6th highest, averaging just over 8 yards per attempt, second most. Cincy has allowed the 3rd most passing yards per game this year at 268. 5 of the 6 quarterbacks to face the Bengals have gone over their passing yards prop. The Bengals defense has allowed a league high of just under 8 yards per attempt on quick passes this year, including 8 touchdowns, which is the 2nd most. So there is a chance that we see a lot of quick passes from Aaron Rodgers, maybe you go completions, but I'm just telling you that the Bengals secondary sucks, and they also allow Aaron Rodgers has just been throwing the ball really quickly. But what I like the most is kind of what Tom also alluded to, is how the Bengals run D has been terrible. Jaylen Warren over 48.5 rushing yards. He's recorded just over a 40% missed tackle forced rate, 2nd highest among players with at least 30 touches. Cincy has allowed the 3rd most rushing yards per game to running backs, 120 per game. The Bengals defense has allowed just about 1.5 rushing yards before contact to running backs, which is the 3rd most. They've stuffed a back at or behind the line of scrimmage on just 13% of runs. That's the 2nd lowest in the league. If you look back at Warren's history against the Bengals, he's never went over 48.5 rushing yards, but he was splitting those carries with Najee Harris. So Warren still had 49, 24, and 21 rushing yards with Najee Harris against Cincinnati. So now he's RB1 over on the rushing yards. And when you look back at those games, it was Najee Harris getting a lot of the touches on the ground, and then Jaylen Warren was in the air. So now if Jaylen Warren's RB1, then he's probably going to get a lot of the touches on the ground, and maybe we see Gainwell more in the air. Or maybe Jaylen Warren does both. And you could guess whichever one. I said in the newsletter, I lean more towards Gainwell just because I feel that the number is fishy at 18.5. But to Tom's point, the average is around there because of the one great game he had in the air. I might stay away from this, but the Bengals are terrible against pass catching backs. They have allowed the 5th most receiving yards per game to running backs at just over 46. So one of them is probably going over. And again, the way that it went in the other games with the Steelers against the Bengals, Mike Tomlin had 1 running back focus on the ground game and 1 in the air. So if there's going to be that duo, it's going to be Jaylen Warren on the ground, Kenneth Gainwell in the air. That would be my assumption on that. And then I mentioned T. Higgins. So I am obviously worried because it's Joe Flacco under center, and it's only his 2nd week with this quarterback. At plus 107, you could get Higgins over 4.5 receptions. The number is definitely high, but last year, in all 3 home games against an AFC North rival, Higgins had at least 5 catches. When facing man coverage, Higgins has been the Bengals' primary target, recording 32% target rate. That's the 4th highest rate in the NFL. He's caught 9 of 16 targets against man for 123 yards and 2 touchdowns, averaging 2.5 yards per route, which is the 5th most. The problem is the Steelers' defense has played man coverage at the 4th highest rate, and their 5 yards per play on such dropbacks are 11th fewest. So that is why I wouldn't look for Higgins' receiving yards. I would be more on the reception side for T. Higgins tomorrow. But again, it is Joe Flacco, and we can't necessarily use the numbers from the entire part of the year solely because Joe Flacco loves his tight ends. But again, the Steelers are good against 11 personnel. So this doesn't match up well at all for Joe Flacco. At all. I almost thought about Higgins' longest reception, but the numbers weren't there. On props.cash, he doesn't hit this much in prime time. And again, the Steelers are good at containing these receivers in man. It's just that they are in man so much that I'm trying to think of the word. The receptions will be there. The targets will be there for T. Higgins because of how much man they're going up against, and that's their go-to guy. But the yardage isn't there. It's more just the magnitude of catches that he's going to get. Flacco over attempts. I thought about it too because the Steelers have allowed they are bottom 5 in attempts allowed and completions allowed and passing yards allowed. But it is very hard for me because we don't have enough of a sample size. So yes, of course, if the Bengals are playing from behind, Joe Flacco is going to have to throw the football. And obviously they have no running backs to show for because their O-line sucks. Are they going to stay on the field long enough for this? I mean, Joe Flacco's pass attempts prop is 35.5. It's pretty high. The question becomes, I know he threw 45 times last week, and that's why at 35.5, it's a little concerning because, is he going to do it back-to-back weeks? Are they going to be on the field long enough for him to hit 35.5 pass attempts? We don't have enough numbers, so I stayed away from pretty much all the Cincinnati props going into tomorrow. We'll talk more about Thursday Night Football on tomorrow's show, but we're at past 6 o'clock, so now I'm going to get to my best bet of tonight, Royal Locks. Royal Lock of the day, George Kirby under 4.5 Ks. We are going to ride these unders on the Blue Jays until it's over. Blue Jays unders have been profitable all year. They average about 4 strikeouts a game against righty starters. 0 of the righties to face the Blue Jays have even hit 4 strikeouts yet this postseason. George Kirby, he's going under 4.5 strikeouts tonight against the Toronto Blue Jays. You want some soccer plays? I don't do that, but I do have friends who do. So if you really do want soccer plays, I can get some soccer plays for you from my guy Marco. I could bring him on this week, tomorrow, or Friday, and we could talk soccer. I'm just really bad at soccer. I don't know anything. I don't know what's going on. I don't know where we are in the calendar. I don't know which leagues are playing. So you guys in the chat, you have to ask me about those sports. If it's not a Big Four and you want it, ask me. And I have friends that handicap literally every sport. I will never come on here and handicap something that I don't feel confident in. So if you guys want certain sports that I don't focus on, write it in the chat, and I promise you that I will get them. Tomorrow, we are bringing on our good friend from over at NHL.com, Troy Perlowitz. If you guys remember, he was with us through the entire Stanley Cup playoffs. He was awesome. He gives us a laundry list of hockey props. So he's going to come on tomorrow and discuss Thursday hockey. I was going to bring him on today, but it was a short slate. Tomorrow's the big slate of hockey games. So we've got hockey tomorrow with Troy. Mark Zinno's going to come on, talk college football, NFL, Major League Baseball. We did have some NHL. Tom gave out a prop today in the NHL, so I'll post it to social media for you guys. Breeders' Cup Classic. When's that, Mark? When's the Breeders' Cup Classic? I have to do that too. I could ask Samich and see if he would come on. He does baseball too. He does every sport, really. So we could talk to Samich. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. As always, thank you to Coach James Young for joining the show. Thanks to Tom Vecchio. And as always, if you guys missed anything, you could go to the YouTube at Prop Queen Sports. The YouTube page will have all of the segments clipped. So if you just want to hear Tom, you just hear Tom. If you just want to hear Coach, you could just hear Coach. You just want the Prop Queen edges, go subscribe, like on Prop Queen Sports YouTube page. It helps a lot to like and subscribe. And also, gives you all the info that you need going into tonight's slate and going into tomorrow as well. See you guys tomorrow on the Prop Queen Pod, 5 p.m. Eastern Time.